read in last week's parsha, the mitzvah of Hakhel, that every 8th year of the sabbatical cycle, meaning after 7 years, the 8th year, after the first day of Sukkot, all Klal Yisrael gathers in the Beis HaMikdash to hear the reading of Mishnah Torah by the king. And men, women, children are all present when he reads Mishnah Torah. And what's the value of reading Mishnah Torah? So the Torah tells us it's in Perek Lamed Aleph Pasuk Yutes. Hakel Esom Hanoshim V'Anoshim V'Atav V'Ger Hashem Sholecho L'man Yishmu U'L'man Yilmedu. So they should hear and they should learn. V'Yoros Hashem Elokechem, and they will fear Hashem Elokechem, and due to that fear, the Shamad Lasus called B'Riyat Torazos, and due to that fear, that reverence, they will retain and actualize this Torah. That's what Hakhel is all about. The objective is they should come to hear, to learn, to hear and learn, and they will fear Hashem. And as a result of that, the Shamru Lasus is called B'Riyat Torazos. Okay? So what's the objective? The objective is what? Is to fear Hashem, the ultimate, because fear allows you to observe the Torah at a special level. As David HaMelech says, Reishis Chochmah Yiras Hashem, that based on the level of yira that you have, that will be the degree that you observe the Torah. That's Reishis Chochmah Yiras Hashem. So what's the objective of coming? V'yoros Hashem Elokechem, and a result of that, V'shamru Lasus called B'Riyat Torazos. That's what Torah is saying. That's the objective. Now, you would think that the order would be slightly different. Now, what exactly is the value of Shemitah? For the 7th year, the land remains fallow. People living in Israel are not permitted to participate and be involved in the agricultural process, working the land, reaping its produce, all that. Everything is ownerless, and everything is for everyone to take. And how does the Torah identify Shemitah? Shabbos L'Hashem. It's Shabbos L'Hashem, just as you have the 7th day is Shabbos to commemorate creation. The 7th year, which is also, it's to commemorate Shabbos L'Hashem, to dedicate that year to Hashem. And that's the reason why we call when a person takes a sabbatical. It's a sabbatical. What do you do during the sabbatical? So what's Shabbos L'Hashem? So over there, the Sifrano explains, it's a year that you dedicate for the Limud Torah, for the study of Torah, and to meditate and to reflect on your understanding of who Hashem is. That's what that year is dedicated to. So to dedicate the year in learning and in conceptually understanding who we are and who Hashem is. Okay? And what follows the sabbatical year, going into the 8th year? You have the end of the sabbatical year. You have Elul. And then at the beginning of the 8th year, what do you have? You have Rosh Hashanah, you have Aseret Shemei Tshuva, you have Yom Kippur. That's what you have. So you're experiencing a level of spirituality, which is the most unique moment of the year of this experience, where Hashem is closest to us. This is the 10-day period from Rosh Hashanah through Yom Kippur. Seek out Hashem when he's found, call him when he's close. And we begin Sukkot. You would think if we're going to dedicate a year to learning and to meditation and to experience an Elul in a special way, what should it all be predicated on going to the Beis Hamikdash, hearing the king read Mishnah Torah, have a leva yiras Hashem, and based on that yira, you'll maximize on that year of Torah study when you're not engaged in the mundane, in this agricultural society, and you'll experience Elul at a different level, and Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur will be a different Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. But yet the Torah says no. After you experience a sabbatical year of learning, of meditation, of Elul, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, Aseh Tshuva, and you experience the first day of Sukkot, which is Usmachtem L'fnei Hashem Elokechem, you rejoice before Hashem with the Daled Midim. Now you go to the Temple Mount. To what? By learning and hearing, now you fear Hashem. So what does the order tell you? The way the Torah sets the order, not the way, seemingly logically, you would think the order should be the other way. You see that Yiras Shamayim is not simple. To be able to internalize the reality of who Hashem is not a simple feat. And I always say from the Rebbe Shlomo Salanter, the furthest distance in existence is between what's closest, between the brain and the heart, although it's just a number of inches away from one another, but that's the most distant, that's the greatest distance that exists in existence. That's something we understand. To be able to internalize it, to bring it into our heart, it's not simple. It's the most difficult thing in life. So what do you have to do? What is the Torah telling us? You have to somehow, before you plow, before you seed, you plow. You have to prepare the earth to take in that seed. Before we have relevance to Yiras Hashem, you have to actually go into a state of total immersion in Torah, which is a spiritualization process, and meditation. Remove yourself from the mundane, from the physical, for a year. Experience a Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, a Seres Tshuva, which is the greatest level of Hashem's intervention into existence in relationship. Experience a Sukkot. Now that you've had this level of orientation, when you go to the Beis Hamikdash, now you have the capacity to be touched by that experience of the king reading Mishnah Torah. That's what you see from the order as the Torah sets the order. I want you to make your comment again. You're saying it's similar to Psukei de Zimra. It's not. Psukei de Zimra is much more understandable. Why? The Gemara says in Brachos, what's the difference between Kriya Shema and the Shemona Esrei? Kriya Shema is a declaration of our belief. That's what Kriya Shema is. Shemona Esrei is Kol Midufnei Melech. You have an audience. The only reason why you're worthy of an audience is because to the degree that you esteem him and value him, that makes you more worthy of that audience, and you have a greater right to make your requests. So by singing his praises, Psukei de Zimra, verses of praise, of song, you're singing his praises. After you sing his praises, you accept his dominion, which is the Kriya Shema. Now that you've stated who you are, and to wait with the degree that you esteem the king, now you're worthy of that audience. So that's a logical sequence. You sing his praises, you accept his dominion, which is the Shema, and now who's coming to stand before Hashem? But here it's the other way. If the whole value is ultimately to have a capacity, it's what is the value? Yiras Hashem. Yiras Hashem is that to serve Hashem to a greater degree. So if that's the case, if you're going to dedicate a year to learning, and you want to have a greater degree of relevance to that value, you should be infused with Yiras Shamayim. So have the experience first on the Temple Mount, hear the king read, be touched to that level, and you'll have that Yiras Shamayim, and now you'll be able to dedicate that year at a whole different level. That was the basis for the question. So it's not quite the same as Psukei de Zimra, Kriya Shema, and the Amida, which follows. Chofetz Chaim writes on the pasuk. There's a pasuk in Mishlei. Shlomo says, "In tvaksheno kekesef." if you will desire it like silver, uchamat modim trapseno, and you search for it like buried treasure, os tov in Yiras Hashem, then you begin understanding what Yiras Shamayim is. Could you imagine? To be able to understand and appreciate what Yiras Shamayim is, the level of desire which one has to have is no less than the money desire for money, silver, and even more than like you're searching out a buried treasure, which the desire is even greater to come upon. So Chavetz Chaim says that's a prerequisite. That's a prerequisite to come to the Siyata Deshmaya, to be touched, to be able to internalize Yiras Shamayim. That's what Shlomo Melech was saying. So this is the case. It's not, I believe in you, and I understand what relates you have to existence and what you could do to me. It's not enough to be touched or sufficiently be touched. To be able to internalize it, to what degree do you desire it? To have that relationship. If you want it, and like you want to be in Forbes 500, and you want to go down and be on that submarine, and you pay whatever it is to go to submerge yourself to the bottom of the ocean. If you have that desire, then Hashem says, then you'll begin understanding what Yiras Shamayim is. Otherwise, you have all this blockage. It's all conceptual, but it has no relevance to the person to be able to internalize it. So what's the punchline? The punchline is, before we go into Rosh Hashanah, we have to have minimally 4 days of slichas. We don't go cold into Rosh Hashanah. And by Ashkenazim, the longest slichas is ever Rosh Hashanah. Why? Because again, to be able to appreciate and understand what the Yom Adin is, what the Day of Judgment is, you just can't go from an ordinary davening straight into a Rosh Hashanah, which is Day of Judgment. You have 4 days. We say slichas, supplications. We have confessions. We do vidui, and we do tshuva. And why is it 4 days? The way it's said in Shulchan Aruch, because just as a korban, before they bring a sacrifice, they examine it 4 days to make sure it's not blemished. Identically, before we enter into the Day of Judgment, we have to spend 4 days introspecting to make sure that we don't have levels of shortcomings that will be held accountable for. That's why it's the 4 days of slichas. But factually, you have to have those 4 days of preparation to be able to be touched and appreciate and understand and relate to the profoundness of what that experience is, which is Rosh Hashanah. Otherwise, you go and it's a different liturgy, with the chazan and the shofar and everything else. But to be touched as you should be touched, you need minimally 4 days of slichas. The Sfardim, they have a month of slichas in preparation for the Rosh Hashanah.